Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. We have a piece of software that we have hired the development team for here at FUTO called Image. This is imaging software that in my opinion is fundamentally better than iCloud as well as Google Photos. You have the ability to load your photos incredibly fast, way faster than I've experienced with Nextcloud. You can encode your video proxies as well as your image proxies and set how you do it. So even if a really slow setup with bad internet, you can still load things instantly. If you search for cat on chair, an artificial intelligence, which is a local AI, not an AI on somebody else's computer, will search through and find you pictures of a cat on a chair in less than 2 seconds. And above all, it just works very, very well. This is open source software. You can run it on your own server, not somebody else's computer, and I think that it's great. And I wanted to talk about a comment that we received here on our YouTube channel because I think it really cuts to the heart of not just what I'm going to be talking about with this piece of software once it's fully released here and ready for people to pay for it, but also part of how we're trying to change the culture here at FUTO when it comes to open source in general. To be clear, I'm not trying to pick on this individual because he has a lot of positive contributions to the channel, and he also clarified what he said in later comments. So I really don't mean to pile on this individual. However, this is a sentiment that has been expressed to me in a more negative way in certain emails and Discord conversations, so I think it's a really good jumping point for this topic. The comment goes as follows when it comes to the image software that we're going to be selling the server product for, as well as the client product for. If I have to install it on a Docker server that I spin up, it should be open and kind of free. I would pay for any service for the software. Another option is that you host it and we pay as a consumer. So again, it should be open and kind of free if I have to install it on a Docker server that I spin up. And I actually see this as the opposite. One of the things that I talk about a lot on my other channel, where I talk about my own personal thoughts and ramblings, that I think many here at FUTO agree about, is that a lot of these products nowadays, whether we're talking about anything from IP cameras to a damn tankless water heater, require that you connect to the manufacturer's server. You don't have an option to run your own instance. They're not giving you the option for sovereignty, for freedom, for the ability to own what it is you bought and paid for, and not have it connect to somebody else's computer. And I actually believe that that should be a cheaper experience in some ways than the experience of actually owning it. So I completely understand the idea that, listen, I would be willing to pay for a service where you do all of this for me rather than simply paying for the server where I have to set it up myself. However, when you look at the pillars of FUTO software that we have, one of them is, again, open source. The second is you should be able to run your own instance of a server. If there is a client that we are selling, you must have your own server. If we were to release an IP camera, we must allow you to use standards like ONVIF and everything else to be able to have your own instance. We cannot sell the client without selling the server. The software can't suck. The software cannot have ads, spyware, trackers, or anything like that. And when you think about that pillar, which is anytime we sell you a client, we must also sell you the server and allow you to use the server yourself. What we're really doing there is we're trying to respect you as a customer, and we're trying to give you a level of freedom that most other companies are not giving you. And the problem that we see with lots of open source software, at least in my opinion, is that a lot of them, they get to be 70 or 80% the way good, and the developers really get that dopamine kick from creating something that didn't exist before. That's really cool. But that additional 15 to 25% polish that needs to be done for it to be an application that is used by 10 million people rather than 1,000 people kind of doesn't get done. And I think that this part of the culture, and feel free to tell me if you think I'm wrong, where people see it as a donation. They use the software, but a lot of the people use it and they never pay for it. And again, to be clear, we here at FUTO believe open source, no DRM. If you do not pay for this software, if you use it for the next 20 years and don't give a dime, it's going to work. It's not going to be any paywalled functionality. But at the same time, what we're doing here is we're trying to say, if we make this available to you in this respectful way, where the software is open source, we have genuine team of full-time, amazing engineers working on it, listening to your feedback, making it better, above all, respecting your freedom. Are you open to paying for it? I personally believe that it is actually worth more if you are able to set up your own instance on your own server, if you have to set it up in your own virtual machine on your Debian Linux server, if you're setting up your own instance using Docker or anything else. Yes, it is going to require some technical chops to be able to do that properly. As I said in the last video, when my stepmom hears the word Docker, she thinks that, there's a boat docking that has something on it or that we're taking pictures of. She doesn't understand this, and we do need to come up with a piece of software here, a server system with a cloud infrastructure so that she would be able to pay for the client without paying for the server and have somebody else do all of that for you. And we are working towards that here. There are certain modifications we have to make to the software that'll really lend it to being able to be utilized in that infrastructure where you have millions of users on a server. There's a lot of work that has to be done here. We don't believe in releasing software that has these types of security glitches, and we sure as shit would not want to release anything like what Apple's done where you don't have a delete button or you have the fappening or anything like that. We care about security here. That is coming. And we are going to release that as a product. But again, in my heart and soul, I genuinely believe that if you have the ability to run your own server, even if that's going to be difficult to do from a user experience point of view, simply giving you that freedom, in my opinion, is actually worth more money, because we are allowing you to have your own server. And that is something that is so rare these days, because there's many pieces of software where I would actually pay triple the price of the software if they simply gave me this little piece of freedom. And we are promising you here at FUTO that anytime we release a piece of software, that as a client, you need to have the ability to run your own sovereign server. That sovereign server that you have, again, open source, no DRM, infinite free trial period, but we are going to ask you to pay for it because we want to change the culture of open source here. It's not simply about us getting money for this organization. This organization is run by a billionaire. He can probably afford to keep paying them for a decent period of time, even if people don't purchase the software. But the result of that, what we're really trying to do here is get other engineers that are really good to say, I don't have to work at Facebook. I don't have to work at Google. I don't have to work at Apple in order to make a real salary. People out there are actually willing to pay for good software, even if it doesn't abuse you, even if it is open source. They have the option to use it without paying, and they choose to use it while paying. Maybe it makes sense for me to quit my job at Google or Facebook. Maybe it makes sense for me to take my top 1 to 3% programming chops of all the programmers in the world and apply it to software that is open rather than software that abuses you. Apply it to software that allows you to run your own local AI so that you could search through your pictures rather than using Google Photos, so that if you take a picture of your son who has a medical issue, when a doctor requests that you do so, that you get reported for, well, I'm not going to say it on this channel. This channel ain't mine. I do not want to get the videos removed, but link in the description down below. Is this what happened here? We want to release software that doesn't abuse you. But above all, we want people who don't have Aaron Wolf's money to be able to feel confident that they could at least make a living for themselves and their families by paying for the software that they use. And by creating a culture where people feel comfortable paying for software that doesn't abuse them, even when they don't have to, we believe that we are not just going to be making money as an organization, but also promoting a culture that really believes that people can get paid to take software from that 70 to 80% level where it works and do that last 20% of polish that makes the difference between it having 100 or 1,000 or even 10,000 users to tens of millions of users, which is what we want. We want less people using iCloud. We want less people using Google Photos. In the words of Aaron Wolf, I want to make Tim Cook cry, and I'll be honest with you, that's part of what made me love working for this organization. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.